For thousands of years, our ancestors looked up at the very same night sky that we do. But they didn't just see a bunch of twinkling lights. To them, it was a map, a clock, a calendar, all rolled into one. And somehow, they managed to bake all that cosmic knowledge into stone and metal with this just breathtaking precision. So, that leaves us with a giant question, right? How on earth did they do it? And why? Well, let's dive in and see if we can find out.
Okay, let's start with a big one, something everyone knows, the Great Pyramid of Giza. I mean, this thing was built way back around 2550 BCE, and it is aligned to true north, south, east, and west with an accuracy of less than 1 degree. Look, for a structure this massive, that kind of precision is not an accident. No way. It's a huge screaming clue that they were looking to the stars for their blueprints.
So right away, this begs a really fascinating question. Were these just really fancy tombs and temples? Or were they something else entirely? Maybe giant instruments, cosmic clocks designed to track the heavens. That's the mystery we're going to try to unravel today.
All right, Section 1, Ancient Clues in the Sky. Now, to even begin to solve this mystery, we have to learn how to read the clues our ancestors left behind. And that brings us to this really cool field called archaeoastronomy.
So, what is archaeoastronomy anyway? Well, first off, it's not about making wild guesses or, ancient aliens. It's a real scientific discipline that mixes together astronomy, archaeology, and even anthropology. Basically, it's the toolkit that lets us turn a bunch of silent stones into an incredible story about our connection to the stars.
Okay, Section 2 is a tour of ancient genius. Now that we've got our tools set, let's go on a whirlwind tour of some of the most compelling evidence from all over the globe. And seriously, prepare to have your mind blown.
First up, we're in Germany, looking at the neighbor sky disk. This thing dates all the way back to 1600 BCE, and let me tell you, it is way more than just a pretty piece of bronze. See that little cluster of 7 dots? That's almost certainly the Pleiades star cluster. And get this, those 2 golden arcs on the sides, they span exactly 82 degrees. That is the precise angle between sunrise on the summer solstice and sunrise on the winter solstice. This wasn't just decoration. It was a functional, portable astronomical computer from the Bronze Age.
All right, now let's jump ahead in time a bit to ancient Greece and check out the Antikythera mechanism. This was found in a shipwreck, dates to around 150 BCE, and people call it the world's first analog computer for a very good reason. It had this ridiculously complex system of over 30 interlocking bronze gears that could predict the positions of the sun and moon. It could even forecast eclipses. It's mind-boggling. Seriously, nothing this sophisticated pops up again for more than 1,000 years. Okay, now let's head over to the Americas, to a place called Chenquilo in Peru. Around 300 BCE, someone built these 13 towers that, together, create a massive solar calendar. If you stand at just the right spot, you can watch the sun rise and set behind a different tower all through the year. It's like a giant celestial clock. It perfectly marks the solstices, the longest and shortest days of the year, and the equinoxes, when day and night are the same length. This is the key part. This wasn't just a temple that happened to line up with the sun. It was built for this. It was a purpose-built solar observatory.
Moving on to Section 3, the world's oldest observatories. Okay, so we've seen some seriously sophisticated stuff from Germany, Greece, and Peru. But the story, it goes back so much further. So the question is, just how far back are we talking?
Just take a look at this timeline. You see Stonehenge there? The legendary Stonehenge at 3000 BCE? It's practically a newcomer to the party. Way before that, you've got Nabta in Egypt, a stone circle from 5000 BCE that lines up with the summer solstice. But even that is just a baby compared to Göbekli Tepe in what is now Turkey.
11,000 years ago. That's how old the earliest parts of Göbekli Tepe are. This place, with its huge, intricately carved stone circles, was built around 9000 BCE. And get this, it was built by hunter-gatherers. This just completely rewrites the history books. The old idea was you needed farming before you could build giant, complex stuff like this. Apparently not.
All right, Section 4 is about reading the clues carefully. Now look, with all these incredible sights, it's so easy to get carried away, right? To see patterns absolutely everywhere. But scientists have to be super careful here, because let's be real, not every alignment was put there on purpose.
Yeah, this quote here from a researcher named David Dearborn really hits the nail on the head. He says, astronomical explanations can be fitted notoriously easily to pre-existing alignments.
What he means is, hey, if you have enough stones and enough stars in the sky, you're going to find alignments just by random chance. So the whole game is figuring out what's deliberate and what's just a lucky coincidence.
So this is what researchers are up against. They have to weigh these two possibilities. Proving it was intentional design, man, that is not easy. You need super precise measurements, you need to run the stats to prove it's not just random, and ideally you need some kind of cultural evidence, like myths or art, to back it all up. Without all that hard work, it's just way too easy to see patterns that aren't actually there.
Okay, last section. A single point of origin? So we've seen all this mind-blowing evidence, right? It's all over the globe, spanning thousands of years. And that leads to a really big question. Did everyone just figure this out on their own, independently? Or did this idea start somewhere and then spread? Well, when you actually map out all the major sites and you put their dates on there, a really fascinating pattern starts to show up. It doesn't really look like synchronicity, the idea that this knowledge just magically appeared everywhere at once. The timeline doesn't support that. No, the timeline seems to be telling a very different story.
So, what's the verdict? What's the leading theory based on everything we've seen? Well, it looks like the knowledge of how to build these giant sky-watching monuments probably didn't just appear out of thin air all over the world. The oldest sites we know of, I'm talking Göbekli Tepe and the ancient Jericho Tower, they're both located in the Fertile Crescent. So the current thinking is that this whole idea, this spark of building monuments to watch the sky, it might have started right there. And from that one single spot, the idea slowly spread, diffusing across the globe over thousands and thousands of years.
I mean, just think about that for a second. That's a staggering thought. The blueprints for a place like Stonehenge might actually trace their family tree all the way back, 6,000 years earlier, to a temple built by hunter-gatherers in Turkey. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If they knew that much so long ago, what other secrets from our distant past are still hiding up there, just waiting for us to read them in the stars?